Hello and welcome. My name is Zach Smith, and I will be facilitating the second episode Connect, Learn, and Grow series here online. So happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us. On today's episode, we have the topic of mindfulness practices for exploring and nourishing our connections during isolation. So for today's episode, what we'll be doing, I'll be giving a brief overview, dive into the topic of some mindfulness practices, but how we can be and feel and nourish our connections in this very challenging time for many of us. So first and foremost, we're going to look at defining what connection is, and becoming more aware of what we are all connected to. Then we will get in touch, hopefully, with some of our feelings that arise from the various connections that we have in our lives. Then we will explore the qualities of these connections. What is not necessarily good or bad, but what kind of connections are they? Then we will be looking at whether these connections are nourishing to us or not, and then how to nurture those connections that are nourishing to us. Then we will be going through a few basic mindfulness practices for connecting with ourselves, and thereby actually connecting with others. And a lot of people would think of mindfulness practices, sometimes it's a meditation, and sometimes it might seem counterintuitive how a meditation or mindfulness practice can actually be a practice of connection. So we'll go through that as well, because it is quite a deep practice of connecting. And we'll end with a brief guided meditation today. Elemental meditation, but one that will hopefully allow you to both see and feel how we are connected to all that is. So I hope that you will enjoy today's session, and then look forward to being here with you. So what is connection? I think that if we were in a room together right now, so many of you would have very different answers probably. What do we feel is connection? For some of us, that might say things like, right now at least, our internet connection. That's certainly a connection. It's like connecting flights and trains for transit, buses. There's a connection we feel with the people that we work with, our families. Connection to a particular space, maybe one that we can't even visit right now. Connection to a time period in our lives. All sorts of different connections. And even be some of the more illicit connections. Think of like a connection, my connection to someone forgetting something that might be illegal. So it really, I think that at the heart of the word, the heart of the meaning of connection is simply a linking. So thinking of it, and this is myself and this thing. And my relationship to it, most importantly, I think that that's what the connection is our relationship to all of these various things in our lives. And I do think that our lives are built on our connections. I mean, from the time of our birth, connected to our mothers, up until now, everything everything around us, everything that we do, is a connection. Everything that we look at with our eyes, we see, we're connected to that. Everything that we feel, we touch, we taste, we smell. The different types of sounds, different types of things that we read that come into our minds and our imaginations. We're connected to all these things. And some of these connections, as you can imagine, can be very nourishing for us. Some of these connections might not be so nourishing. So it might be a little bit unwholesome. So maybe we can, excuse me, take a moment and think about the things that we're actually connected to right now in isolation. Maybe even outside of it too. You can probably come up with quite a big list, whether you live by yourself or with other people or pets. Those are some immediate things that we might think about being connected to. I feel very connected right now with my wife and my daughter and our dog. Very intimately connected with our house, the yard that surrounds us, and now a lot of streets close to our neighborhood that we've been walking in. Feel very connected to my computer, this one that I'm looking into right now. Seems a little weird. All the things that are around us. What are we connected to? Sometimes we can think also of the things that we're consuming, the things that we're connected to. Our foods, our drinks, and the consumption of things in the media. So our sense impressions, things you might be reading in the newspaper, things you might be listening to on the radio, or watching on YouTube or TV, whatever that is. These inputs that we're receiving are definitely connections. And although that we're here in our physical space, we're certainly connected to many other spaces. Even though we might not be able to see loved ones right now or go to those favorite places or go to the restaurants that we want to go to, still feel a deep connection with many of these things. Some of those feelings might be feeling of being disconnected from them. But we're still who we are because of these connections. And that can't be taken away from us just by where we physically are. The other thing that we're, that I alluded to a little bit, that we're connected to are definitely our thoughts and our ideas. And all of this input that we're receiving came from someone else, the way that we think, the way that we process things. The ideas that we have are all kind of an amalgamation of all these various inputs, these relationships to all of our connections in our lives and how they're manifesting right now. So even when we think that we're acting alone or being completely alone, we might be very alone. Even the thoughts in our head, what's guiding us is shaped from all of our connections throughout our life. We are right now manifesting so many aspects of our connections. I think this is really important to point out when we think about being away from work and our work colleagues. When I sit down to do my work during the day, it's not just me doing my work. I have to understand that me being able to do my work is a direct result of having been trained from my colleagues, my peers, my boss, my supervisors, all the people at 21 North Park. So many people, platforms, technologies, so many things that come together to make my work possible right now. When I sit down, my output is a product of all my connections. So even though I'm not seeing my colleagues, I'm intimately connected with them. And that, sometimes it can't, we might understand that, and it's hard to feel what that really feels like. Say, I do feel very disconnected, but how do I actually feel connected? I understand that all, a manifestation of all of these things, all of my connections throughout my entire life, and lives that led before me that helped shape my parents and then my teachers. How do I feel that? And when sometimes it's so easy to feel overwhelmed or alone or anxious. Touch like a deeper sense, some ease, and feeling connected now. So if we notice these things that we're connected, it can be any of them, anything. Food, TV, books, outside. You just start observing what are you connected with? And you might start noticing whether those connections give you some sort of sense of ease, well-being, maybe if you feel like they're refreshing or not. And you might think about what kind of feelings arise with certain connections. It can be feelings of excitement. There can be feelings of dread, anxiety, happiness, all the feelings that are possible, all of our connections. Then we might take that one step further and say, where do I actually feel these things in my body? So maybe not just sadness or happiness or whatever's arising for you. Do I feel it in my jaw, my shoulders, or the pit of my stomach? Clench all of my muscles or brace? Do I feel soft and relaxed and just light and easy? It's not to say that any of these things are right or wrong or good or bad. The point is just to start to become aware of what is going on. Taking some of this notions out of our head and experiencing directly the felt sensation, what connection feels like. And I think that many of us, or most all of us, would be able to say that quality of connections vary greatly. That when you have a good connection, a nourishing connection that you do feel at ease, you can feel light and free and fresh. When I'm walking in the woods, particularly, next to a little stream or underneath the pines and soft ground, some mosses and things around, like, feel good. I feel like my body is a little bit lighter. I feel like there's less tension in me. I feel like I can breathe more easily. That when I'm around maybe a person or a situation that I don't want to be connected with, I feel very differently. I feel like I can't breathe very well. I feel a little more anxious. My body is clenching tight, maybe bracing. And I think that we all call to mind some of these situations where we do feel, I want to have that feeling more, or no, I don't want to have that feeling. And sometimes that changes with that place or that person or this thing. You can have a good connection, then that connection can change. The quality of that relationship can change. Just like our Wi-Fi or the radio, right now is so much dependent on our Wi-Fi connection or internet connection. So what happens when that changes? What happens when it changes in our body too? It's like, oh, my Wi-Fi is not working. I'm feeling really tense right now. I can't get my job done. We notice what we're connecting to. All of these things, there's so many things that we're connected to at all times. Like right now, going on right now, I can see things. I can hear things in my house. I'm connected to this computer. I'm connected to the clothes I'm wearing. It just takes me a second to look around my surroundings and see what I'm connected to. If I had the radio going or the TV going. And I can start to see also, am I consciously connecting with it? Or are a lot of my connections just simply background noise? Or am I actually connecting things because I want to understand them more, because I want to have a more nourishing experience or more fulfilling that will help me in my life? I start to look at why I'm connecting. Am I connecting with something, like am I just turning on the radio or am I turning the news on so I can tune out, so I can disconnect? Because maybe what I'm feeling right now is unpleasant, or maybe I'm having body sensations that are unpleasant, attached to my anxieties or whatever they might be. So I want to avoid them. Excuse me. I want to connect with something else. Tune it out. Or maybe I'm wanting a specific outcome. I'm trying to force a connection. I want this thing. I want to feel this way. I want this experience to come out in a way that I want. Or am I looking for something that will boost me up, like good news? Particularly in times like this, sometimes I find looking through the news, like I want to find some good news, or I want to find like, oh, maybe this virus will subside in the warmer months or something like this. Just grasping for something that have some maybe perceived ease, trying to look for that feeling that isn't necessarily, that natural feeling that makes me feel so good, but I'm looking for it, trying to force it. We look at all these connections that we're tying into, the people that we're talking, things that we're doing. Why are we doing them? How do they feel? And what can I do right now to be present with that? Like, what is? Instead of moving away from things and tuning out, distracting, or grasping toward things that I want to happen, or trying to force a certain situation, how can I just be with what is and experience that? Just like that, when we started with noticing things, not good or bad. It's just trying to figure out, like, this is what is right now. This is what's going on. And some of us might be in situations that we don't want to be in. How do I deal with that? How do I have nourishing ease in those types of things? Sometimes some of us use this phrase, like, I just need to disconnect for a while. Maybe think about, why do we say that? I think that if I say that I just need to disconnect, that means I need to reconnect. Things that are good for me, the things that are wholesome and nourishing. And if I want to really connect, it's a deep experience. I think that before I can connect with someone else and have that be a nourishing experience for them too, I have to do that with myself. We've all probably heard that adage, we must love ourselves. We must be able to love ourselves fully before we can love someone else. And I think that we all know that that is true, that we can certainly love things. But without that depth of knowing, of feeling, like there's that ease, comfort, and trust, it's really hard to offer that to someone. And, we can say that we love many things. We can love all sorts of things. That, I can love a food or person or a place. That can all vary too, what that means. And same thing with connection. You can feel very connected with somebody or less connected. But what does this mean for myself? Can I truly be present with myself? Be connected in a very nourishing relationship with myself. I think that that's an act of self-care, self-love, and does require practice. Like I said, it's not turning away or escaping from these kind of things that we don't want to have in our lives or a situation we don't want to be connected with. But what we're trying to do is create space and hold that space for the possibility of the wholeness of the moment, all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, the sad. And we allow for the validity of all feelings. Just allow them to be there. We give space for the healing and happen. But when a child is crying, up and hold them that time, that reassurance. And sometimes we need that to give it ourselves. But that takes a lot of practice, to be able to do this. And looking at the various things that we're connecting to in our life. So that first step is just becoming aware of what we're connecting. And then maybe we can start evaluating those connections, the quality, whether it's nourishing or not. Not really judging, but then choosing to maybe linger longer with those things that are nourishing, are more nourishing to us. Be with those connections. And it's not saying the other ones are bad, it's you're choosing to be with the nourishing. So I'm like to shift then to a few of these basic mindfulness practices of things that we can do to help with this process with connecting and making more of an intentional connection for nourishment. The first one is just like, how do we start our day? Waking up. When you wake up, you have the option to do all sorts of things. And I would invite you to smile. You do anyway. You might say something in your mind or out loud to say, this morning I smile. 24 brand new hours ahead of me. 12 hours, whatever it is. Choose to smile right now before we do anything else during the day. Before thinking about work, before going to take a shower, choose to connect with something that's good. And when we know that when we smile, it can have a profound impact, we feel. Another thing that we can do, a basic practice of mindfulness, is when we bathe or wash our hands. So we always are doing these things, particularly now we have to wash our hands a lot, say. So looking at the quality of the felt sensation of how you're doing that. You know, are you just doing it just to get it done? Or are you really scrubbing and you're just like, I'm getting into this and, you know, gritting my jaw? What does your body feel like when you're doing these things? You're washing your hands. And you invite more ease into that. And you soften your jaw. And you take the time to just be with what it is. And I'm going to enjoy washing my hands. Why not? I can choose to just enjoy this time that I have. The next practice would be with eating or drinking. And sometimes it's easiest with eating. And we can see connection eating right away or drinking. Same thing with the water. When we're bathing or washing our hands, we can notice this water comes from someplace. It was a cloud once. It was water vapor. It was probably ice. It could have been steam. and all these things. But it's been here since water began. The same water our parents, dinosaurs, you've heard the story. We're connected to that. This thing that comes out of the faucet that used to be a cloud might make our tea or our coffee. We start to recognize, wow, this thing that comes out of my faucet is cloud. I'm drinking a cloud. It was treated by a water treatment facility where it went through various layers of earth. Maybe same thing with my fork. I pick up a piece of food. I recognize maybe this is some sort of vegetable that I'm eating. I recognize it. That came from a plant that was a seed. It grew in soil. It absorbed nutrients from the soil, minerals. It absorbed the sun. There's energy in this food from the sun. Someone planted that seed. Someone harvested the seed and planted it. Someone tended the plant. Someone brought it to market. Someone prepared it. I'm eating it. It's going to become me. The sun, the earth, with all these minerals that help make up the different parts of my body, give me energy from the sun. The water that nurtured and nourished this plant. The energy that it took for people to harvest it and people at the grocery stores. I'm all of a sudden connected to all of this. Another practice we can do is walking. Mindfully walk. Slow walking, we can call it. When you get up in the morning, you just walk to the bathroom. Just take those steps, whatever they are. Few steps. Notice with each step that you are walking on earth. And as you walk with one foot, you can just yourself, I have arrived. And the second step, you can say, I'm here right now. And feeling what it feels like as we walk on this earth. Just notice that sensation. It's for most of us that have the ability to walk, it's a miracle. Those of us that can't walk, we take these things like walking for granted. It is a miracle to walk. We can tap into that and feel it and just be there with it. We're connecting with the earth as we walk. Sensations at the bottom of our feet that we never think about. So then the next practice that kind of goes along with that is at any time during the day, whether it's laying down or sitting, just tap into what you're feeling in your body. You can do a body scan and just notice the areas of tension. You could start with the top of your head and just move down with your awareness to your toes, or start at your toes and go to the top of your notice. Are there areas that you can release tension? Can you find more ease? Final practice is just breathing. You just notice our breath. We can be quiet. We can be walking when we're doing this. We can be sitting meditation. You can be washing your hands when you're doing it, bathing. You just notice your in-breath and out-breath. And start to notice if you can let go into it. Find more ease in the breath. Let it be more natural. Soften into it. There's no right or wrong to these practices. It's just becoming more aware. The more that aware that we become of our body, the more that we're aware of how we're connected to it. Particularly when we practice this eating meditation or breathing, and we notice that this air comes from someplace into us, going out of us. Let's end on a meditation. I invite you to find a comfortable position. You can be sitting, laying down, standing even. Anything that you feel comfortable with. You can leave your eyes open or closed. It doesn't really matter. You can begin by just noticing your breath. Noticing your in-breath and out-breath. You notice the air as it comes in through your nostrils, how that feels. Notice the rise, all of your chest, abdomen. You're not trying to control your breath. Notice it. When your mind wanders, and it naturally will, it's not a bad thing. We notice that it's wandering. Let's come back to our breathing. Our feet be firmly planted on the ground. Our seating sit bones are firmly anchored. Our back is straight. We just find ease in our posture. We'll begin with a sound of the bell. A short element be ended with the sound of the bell. Lean in. So I'm aware that my body is mostly of water. Need water. Or I bring into my body. Same water that comes from the faucet. Came from a cloud. Depths of the earth. Water that flows in my favorite stream, the ocean. Same water. My ancestors and the ancestors on this. Breathing in. Also aware of earth. Vital nutrients that I consume come from this vegetable, maybe animal, plants, bones, or maybe minerals of the earth, souls and organ, tissue, fed, nourished by what we eat. I'm also aware felt sensation of the sun that's coming out of the sun absorbing into my body. The sun that I consume and all that I eat. Finally, air even my thoughts, these things that some books I read, shows I watch, friends, teachers I learn from, colleagues I converse with, parental figures. Not just my body is made of all the various elements, but also my mind. Realize that I am not separate. Everything. Breathing in and enjoy the connections to all life. Out, out, ease, knowing that I'm held, supported, all life. Just wanted to say thank you for being there. And I hope this was useful and that you will be able to look at your connections in new lights, be able to explore them, have fun with it, and enjoy exploring the connections and finding out what's nourishing for you. To see you again, and look forward to some of your responses on the survey. Maybe we can have a conversation on some of your connections in the near future. Be well.